welcome back. I am super excited that you are here and that we are going to read together tonight's homework, which is Lesson 3, Egypt's Empire. Okay, so get out your green book and turn to page 49. Okay, here we go. Our essential question is, why do civilizations rise and fall? Our terms to know are incense, a material burned for its pleasant smell; envoy, a person who represents his country in a foreign place. Some of our guiding questions are, why was the Middle Kingdom a golden age for Egypt? Number 2, why was the New Kingdom a unique period in ancient Egypt's history? Number 3, how did two unusual pharaohs change ancient Egypt? Number 4, why did the Egyptian empire decline in the late 1200s BC? We have our timeline, and again, in 5000 BC is when settlement begins in the Nile River Valley. That is approximately 7,000 years ago, because we are 2000 BCE and they are 5000 BC. So 5000 plus 2019. Down here is asking you, do you know any of these pharaohs? Amus, Hatshepsut, Tutmos, Akhenaten, King Tut, Ramses II. So if you know any of these names, circle it and write down something that you know about the pharaoh. Okay, moving on to the next page. We are on a golden age on page 50. A golden age. The Middle Kingdom lasted from about 2555 BC to 1650 BC. It was a time of power, wealth, and achievement for Egypt. During the Middle Kingdom, Egypt took control of new lands. The pharaoh required tribute or payment from conquered peoples. The pharaoh used his wealth to build dams and improve farmlands. The pharaoh also built a canal between the Nile River and the Red Sea. So number 2 says, who pays for tribute and why? You might not know what a canal would be between these two, but if you remember our map, the Red Sea was kind of southeast of the Nile River, and so what they did was they dug like a big ditch and connected the Nile River to the Red Sea. All right, looking at the next part, during the Middle Kingdom, arts and architecture grew more popular. Painters covered tombs and temples with colorful scenes. Sculptors created large paintings and carvings of pharaohs, which showed the pharaohs as ordinary people. Pharaohs had their tombs cut into cliffs. So, before they had their pyramids, and now they've changed it into cliffs. The Middle Kingdom ended when nobles tried to take power from the pharaohs. This fight weakened Egypt and made it easy for conquering. Outsiders known as the Hyksos invaded Western Asia. The Hyksos army rode in chariots and used weapons made of bronze and iron. The Egyptians had copper and stone weapons that could not stop the invaders. The Hyksos ruled Egypt for about 100 years. During that time, the Egyptians learned how to make and use Hyksos weapons. Around 1550 BC, an Egyptian prince named Amus formed an army and drove the Hyksos out of Egypt. So number 3, how were the Egyptians able to defeat the Hyksos? All right, building an empire. Amus's reign began in an era known as the New Kingdom. From 1550 to 1070, Egypt grew richer and more powerful. Most pharaohs focused on bringing other lands under their control, so they're building out their empire. About 1473, a queen named Hatshepsut came to power. First, she ruled with her husband. After he died, she made herself pharaoh and ruled for her young nephew. She became the first woman to rule Egypt by herself. Number 4. What was unusual or special about Queen Hatshepsut? Hatshepsut used trade to expand the empire. During her rule, Egyptians traded beads, metal tools, and weapons for gold, ivory, and ebony wood. Traders also brought incense, a material burned for its pleasant smell. One important trading partner was Phoenicia. Remember them from Mesopotamia? The Phoenicians lived on the Mediterranean. They had their own alphabet and writing system. The Phoenicians traded goods all over the ancient world. And next. All right, here we go. The New Kingdom rulers also sent out envoys or representatives to other rulers. This was the first time in history that a group of nations worked together in this way. Number 5. Why did the Egyptians want to trade with the Phoenicians? That's on the other page, the bottom of the other page. Number 6. What made Hatshepsut's rule different from that of Thutmose III? When Hatshepsut died, her nephew Thutmose III became pharaoh. Thutmose expanded the empire through war. His armies extended the northern border of Egypt. His troops took control of Nubia, which had been broken free from Egypt. The empire grew rich. It took gold, copper, ivory, and other goods from conquered peoples. Conquered is like whenever you get in a battle or a war and you defeat somebody. You've conquered them. Egypt also enslaved prisoners of war. However, it did let enslaved people own land, marry, and eventually gain their freedom. Number 6 is what made Hatshepsut's rule different from that of Thutmose III. And they did this really cute box here, this graphic organizer for you. So Hatshepsut expanded Egypt through trade, while Thutmose expanded Egypt through war. Hatshepsut was the first woman to rule Egypt, and Thutmose made Egypt rich with gold and valuables from other kingdoms. So she was more like trading, and he was more like, I'm going to conquer you and take all your stuff. 2 unusual pharaohs. Around 1370 BC, Amenhotep IV came to the throne. He and his wife Nefertiti tried to lead Egypt in a new direction. The pharaohs were losing power to the priests. Remember, Egypt is a theocracy, so the pharaohs were the head of the religion and also the head of the state. So these priests, who were also the parts of the head of the religious sector, I could see that happening where they're trying to gain more power away from the pharaoh. So Amenhotep IV started a new religion. People could worship only one god called Anton. When the priests protested, Amenhotep IV removed many from their positions. He seized their lands and closed their temples. He changed his name to Akhenaton, or Spirit of Aton. He began ruling Egypt from a new city. So he took everybody out of their positions. He's like, I'm head honcho. We're worshiping one God, not many gods. That's a monotheistic religion. And also, we're not even going to be ruling from the city anymore. I'm moving us to a whole new city. That's pretty severe. Most Egyptians refused to accept Aton as the only god. They still worshipped many gods. The priests of the old religion were unhappy about losing their power. Army leaders believed that Akhenaton was so devoted to his new religion that he did not do his job as pharaoh. Outside invaders took over most of Egypt's land in Western Asia. So all this land they had gained was taken back because they were divided over religion. When Akhenaton, y'all, I know how to say that word, but I'm having trouble today. Akhenaton died. His son-in-law took the throne. The new pharaoh, Tutankhamun, King Tut. He's king. That's a King Tut. He was only 10 years old. With the help from officials and priests, he quickly restored the old religion. After 9 years, King Tut suddenly died. In 1922, Howard Carter, the British archaeologist, in 1922, Howard Carter, a British archaeologist, unearthed King Tut's tomb and all its treasures. The boy king and his riches fascinated the people living in the modern world. People began to call him King Tut. If you've ever seen a gold Egyptian head, it's blue and gold and it's somebody's face, that's King Tut's tomb. It was so extravagant. So number 7, how did Egypt change under Amenhotep IV? Well, he made it from many gods to one god. Why? And they also lost a lot of land. Number 8, why was Akhenaten and Tutankhamun considered unusual pharaohs? Well, one was a bad pharaoh and changed the religion, and the other one was only 10 years old. So, there you go. If you listen this far, you're welcome. Okay, last page. On to page 52. Recovering and decline. Ta-da! Recovering decline. The most successful leaders during the New Kingdom was Ramses II. Ramses II came into power in 1279 BC. He took back much of the territory lost by earlier pharaohs. He brought the Hittites, in which is now Turkey. He fought the Hittites, which was he fought the Hittites in what is now Turkey, and signed peace treaties. The Hittites and the Egyptians agreed to keep peace between them. They agreed to fight together if an enemy attacked one of them. Under Ramses II, the new kingdom leaders, many temples were built. The most significant or magnificent temple was Karnak in Thebes. Karnak still impresses visitors today. Ramses II's accomplishments. He regained lost lands for Egypt, he signed peace treaties, and he built temples. Number 9, what were the accomplishments of Ramses II? The Egyptians believed that their gods and goddesses lived in the temples. Priests and priestesses served the gods by leaving food for them and by washing their statues. Temples also served as banks. Man, they had this religion and government thing all mixed up together. By 1150, Egypt also stored valuable items such as gold jewelry in these temples. After Ramses II, Egypt's power faded. Egypt was attacked by groups with more and better weapons. By 1150 BC, Egypt ruled only the Nile Delta, a very small area. During 900 BC, one outside group after another took over Egypt. These outside groups included the Libyans, the people of Cush, and the Assyrians from Mesopotamia. Remember the Assyrians? They kept messing with the Jews. Number 10, circle the groups that took over Egypt after its decline. The last one, you're going to have to go back and find these people in the reading. Ahmose, Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Amenhotep IV, Tutankhamun. This looks like ramen noodles right there, guys. It looks like ramen noodles. But it's not. It's King Tut. And then Ramses II. So thank you so much for coming. I am super excited that we are doing this now for our homework. I know a lot of you have been watching this, and I really appreciate it. And tomorrow, if you can tell me what I have in my hand, if you write it down on page 52, write down Coca-Cola Zero, cherry Coca-Cola. You write this down on page 52. I'll give you 10 bonus points. But don't tell anybody, because they should be watching this too if they could, right? Right. So, anyway, see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming.